1. We're taking a look at a 1966 Ford Thunderbird that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller is asking $14,000 for this classic beauty. From the photos, we can see that the car is finished in a sleek white exterior paint, which is nicely complemented by a black interior. The car has an automatic transmission, making it easy to drive. Now it's important to note that the seller mentions the Thunderbird has been driven 86,808 miles. While this mileage is relatively low for a car of this age, it's still something to keep in mind. The seller's description doesn't provide a lot of details about the car's overall condition. They haven't mentioned anything about the engine, undercarriage, or any potential rust issues. This lack of information suggests the car might need some work. Without seeing the car in person or having a mechanic inspect it, it's hard to say definitively what state it's in. However, based on the limited information provided, it's safe to assume this Thunderbird is being sold as is and may require some repairs or restoration. If you're interested in this 1966 Ford Thunderbird, my advice would be to reach out to the seller and ask for more details and additional photos. Try to get a better sense of the car's condition and any work that needs to be done. If possible, arrange to see the car in person and consider bringing along a mechanic or someone knowledgeable about classic cars to help assess its condition. While the asking price of $14,000 might seem attractive for a classic Thunderbird, it's crucial to factor in any potential repair or restoration costs. These expenses can quickly add up, so make sure you have a clear understanding of what you're getting into before making an offer. That's all the information I have for now about this 1966 Ford Thunderbird for sale on Facebook Marketplace. As always, I encourage you to do your own research and due diligence before making any purchasing decisions. 2. We're checking out a 1972 Pontiac Grand Prix that's up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has set the price at $12,000, which seems pretty reasonable for a classic car like this. From the listing, we can see that this Grand Prix is rocking a beautiful blue exterior. The seller hasn't specified the interior color, but I'm sure it complements the outside nicely. Under the hood, you'll find a gasoline engine, which is paired with an automatic transmission for smooth shifting. One of the standout features of this car is its incredibly low mileage. The seller mentions that it's only been driven 10,000 miles, which is absolutely amazing for a vehicle that's nearly 50 years old. This low mileage suggests that the car has been well cared for and hasn't seen a lot of use over the years. The seller also notes that this Grand Prix has had just 2 owners in its lifetime. This limited ownership history is a good sign, as it often indicates that the car has been in the hands of enthusiasts who have taken good care of it. Another positive aspect is that the vehicle is fully paid off, so you won't have to worry about any outstanding loans or liens if you decide to purchase it. Now, while the low mileage and ownership history are definitely appealing, it's important to keep in mind that the seller hasn't provided a detailed description of the car's overall condition. There's no mention of any recent maintenance, repairs, or upgrades that have been performed. Without more information or photos showing the car's current state, it's difficult to say whether this Grand Prix is in pristine condition or if it might need some work. It's always a good idea to ask the seller for additional details and pictures, and if possible, arrange for an in-person inspection before making a decision. If everything checks out and the car is as good as the low mileage suggests, then this 1972 Pontiac Grand Prix could be a fantastic investment for any classic car enthusiast. The asking price of $12,000 seems fair, especially considering the vehicle's age and mileage. However, as with any used car purchase, it's crucial to do your due diligence and gather as much information as possible before committing to a deal. 3. We're taking a closer look at a 1978 Chevrolet Impala that's currently listed for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has set the price at $13,000, which seems a bit high considering the issues mentioned in the description. But let's dive in and see what this classic Chevy has to offer. From the listing, we can see that this Impala has a sleek gray exterior, complemented by a brown interior. It's powered by a gasoline engine and features an automatic transmission, which should make it a breeze to drive. The seller mentions that the car has had just 2 owners, which is a good sign. It suggests that the vehicle has likely been well maintained throughout its life. Additionally, the seller notes that the car is fully paid off, so you won't have to worry about any outstanding loans or liens if you decide to purchase it. Now, let's talk about the condition of this Impala. The seller states that the car runs and drives powerful thanks to its 6.4 L392 engine. This is definitely a plus, as it indicates that the engine has been upgraded from the original stock configuration. However, it's important to note that the seller also mentions that the car needs trans harness to shift. This suggests that there are some issues with the transmission that will need to be addressed. While the custom interior is a nice touch, it's crucial to keep in mind that this Impala is being sold as is. The seller is firm on the $13,000 price and is only interested in serious inquiries. This could be a red flag, as it implies that the seller is unwilling to negotiate on the price, despite the transmission issues. Without more information or photos showing the extent of the transmission problems, it's difficult to determine whether this Impala is worth the asking price. It's always a good idea to request additional details and pictures from the seller, and if possible, have a mechanic inspect the car before making a decision. If you're handy with car repairs and have experience working on classic vehicles, this 1978 Chevrolet Impala could be a fun project car. However, if you're looking for a turnkey classic that's ready to hit the road, you might want to keep searching. As with any used car purchase, it's essential to do your due diligence and gather as much information as possible before committing to a deal. Make sure you have a clear understanding of the car's condition and any potential repair costs before making an offer. That's all the information I have for you today about this 1978 Chevrolet Impala that's for sale on Facebook Marketplace. If you're in the market for a classic American car and don't mind tackling some transmission issues, this one might be worth a closer look. 4. We're taking a trip back in time with a 1973 Plymouth Fury 3 that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller is asking $8,900 for this classic beauty, and from what I can see, it looks like it could be a real gem. First off, let's talk about the exterior. This Fury is rocking a sweet brown paint job that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. The seller mentions that the car has no rust, which is a huge plus for any classic car enthusiast. The Craigslist mag wheels and fender skirts give it a cool, period-correct look that's straight out of the 1970s. Moving on to the interior, the seller notes that it's all original and in a tan color. It's always great to see a classic car with its original interior intact, as it adds to the overall authenticity and charm of the vehicle. Under the hood, you'll find a gasoline engine paired with an automatic transmission. The seller mentions that the car runs and drives awesome, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're considering a classic car purchase. The Fury also has power steering and power brakes, making it easier to handle than some other cars from this era. Now, let's talk about the mileage. The seller states that the car has been driven just 50,299 miles, which is relatively low for a vehicle that's almost 50 years old. This low mileage suggests that the car has been well cared for throughout its life. The seller does mention a couple of minor issues, though. The air conditioning is present but doesn't blow cold air, which is a common problem with older cars. However, this isn't a deal breaker, as many classic car owners are content to cruise with the windows down on a nice day. Overall, this 1973 Plymouth Fury 3 seems like a solid choice for anyone in the market for a classic American car. The asking price of $8,900 seems reasonable, especially considering the car's condition and low mileage. As with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to request additional photos and information from the seller. If possible, try to arrange for an in-person inspection to get a better sense of the car's overall condition. It's also a good idea to factor in any potential repair or maintenance costs, especially if you plan on using this Fury as a daily driver. 5. We're taking a closer look at a 1966 Plymouth Valiant that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has this classic listed at $15,000, which seems like a fair price considering all the upgrades and features this car has to offer. First off, let's talk about the exterior. This Valiant is sporting an eye-catching red paint job that's sure to grab attention wherever it goes. The seller mentions that there are some minor flaws in the paint, but that's to be expected with a car that's almost 60 years old. The chrome trim is in decent condition, adding a nice touch of shine to the overall appearance. One of the standout features of this Valiant is that it's a convertible model, complete with a boot for when you want to keep the top up. There's nothing quite like cruising down the road in a classic drop top on a sunny day. Moving on to the interior, you'll find a nice red color scheme that matches the exterior. The seller mentions that the interior is in good condition, which is always a plus. You'll also find some modern conveniences like air conditioning and an aftermarket CD player with 4 speakers, so you can enjoy your tunes while you cruise. Under the hood, this Valiant is packing some serious heat. It's been upgraded with a 360 engine that's been fitted with MSD fuel injection, ensuring that it runs strong and smooth. The dual exhaust with 340 tips gives the car an awesome sound that's sure to turn heads. The seller has also made some other notable upgrades, including converting the car to a large bolt pattern, adding power front disc brakes, and installing power steering. These modifications make the car easier and more enjoyable to drive. The Valiant rides on a set of 15-inch chrome rally wheels with new centers and staggered tires, giving it a classic look with a modern twist. Now, it's important to note that the seller mentions this Valiant isn't a $40,000 show car. It has some minor flaws and imperfections, which is to be expected with a vehicle of this age. However, the seller is upfront about this and has priced the car accordingly at $14,199. With just 21,123 miles on the odometer, this Valiant has plenty of life left in it. It's a solid choice for anyone looking for a cool, entry-level classic car that's ready to hit the road. As with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to request additional photos and information from the seller. If possible, try to arrange for an in-person inspection to get a better sense of the car's overall condition. 6. We're taking a look at a 1963 Chrysler Imperial that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has this classic listed at $5,500, which could be a great deal for the right buyer. First off, let's talk about the exterior. This Imperial is finished in a sleek silver color that gives it a sophisticated and elegant look. The seller hasn't provided any information about the condition of the paint or body, so it's hard to say whether there are any dents, dings, or rust issues. It would be wise to request more photos and details from the seller to get a better sense of the car's overall exterior condition. Moving on to the interior, the seller mentions that it's finished in a white color. Again, there are no details provided about the condition of the seats, dashboard, or other interior components. It's important to ask the seller for more information and photos to assess whether the interior needs any repairs or restoration work. Under the hood, you'll find a gasoline engine paired with an automatic transmission. The seller notes that the car has been driven 51,500 miles, which is relatively low for a vehicle of this age. However, without more information about the engine's condition, maintenance history, and any potential issues, it's difficult to determine whether this mileage is a positive or negative factor. Now, here's where things get a bit concerning. The seller's description is completely blank, which raises some red flags. Without any information about the car's history, condition, or any work that's been done, it's hard to make an informed decision about whether this Imperial is a good buy. It's possible that the seller simply forgot to include a description, but it's also possible that they're trying to hide something about the car's condition. In any case, it's crucial to reach out to the seller and ask for more details before considering a purchase. If the seller is able to provide more information and the car turns out to be in good condition, then this 1963 Chrysler Imperial could be a great deal at $5,500. These classic luxury cars are known for their spacious interiors, smooth rides, and powerful engines. However, if the seller is unable or unwilling to provide more details, it might be best to proceed with caution or look for another option. That's all I have for you today about this 1963 Chrysler Imperial that's for sale on Facebook Marketplace. While the lack of information in the seller's description is concerning, this car could still be a great project for the right buyer. Just be sure to do your due diligence and gather as much information as possible before making a decision. 7. We're checking out a 1981 Chevrolet Corvette that's up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has this classic sports car listed at $2,500, which seems like a pretty fair price considering the condition and upgrades. First off, let's talk about the exterior. This Corvette is rocking a vibrant red paint job that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. The seller doesn't mention anything about the condition of the paint or body, so we can assume that it's in good shape with no major issues or damage. Moving on to the interior, you'll find a matching red color scheme that looks great with the exterior. The seller mentions that the Corvette has a newer interior, including seats, dash, and door cards. This is a big plus, as the interior of a classic car can often show its age more than the exterior. Under the hood, this Corvette is powered by a gasoline engine paired with an automatic transmission. The seller notes that the car has driven 84,000 miles, which is relatively low for a vehicle that's over 40 years old. This suggests that the car has been well maintained throughout its life. One of the standout features of this Corvette is that it has a new complete rear end and transmission with less than 2,000 miles on them. This is a significant upgrade that should give the buyer peace of mind knowing that these critical components have been recently replaced. The seller also mentions that the Corvette has new rims and tires, which not only look great, but also ensure that the car has a safe and reliable ride. Now, there are a couple of minor issues to note. The seller mentions that the air conditioning needs a charge, which is a common problem with older cars. However, this isn't a major issue, and can likely be fixed relatively easily. The seller also states that everything else on the car works, which is always a good sign. Additionally, the car has a clean title and no significant damage or problems, according to the seller. Overall, this 1981 Chevrolet Corvette seems like a solid choice for anyone in the market for a classic American sports car. The recent upgrades and low mileage make it an attractive option, and the asking price of $2,500 seems reasonable. As with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to request additional photos and information from the seller. If possible, try to arrange for an in-person inspection and test drive to get a better sense of the car's overall condition. 8. We're taking a look at a 1970 Pontiac Firebird that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has this classic muscle car listed at $10,000 or best offer, which could be a good deal for the right buyer, but there are some important things to consider. First off, let's talk about the exterior. This Firebird is finished in a tan color, which gives it a classic 1970s look. However, the seller hasn't provided any information about the condition of the paint or body, so it's hard to say whether there are any dents, dings, rust issues, or other problems. It would be wise to request more photos and details from the seller to get a better sense of the car's overall exterior condition. The seller also hasn't mentioned anything about the interior color or condition. This is another area where more information and photos would be helpful to assess whether the seats, dashboard, and other interior components need any repairs or restoration work. Under the hood, you'll find the original 400 engine paired with the original automatic transmission. This is a big plus for collectors and enthusiasts who value originality. However, the seller mentions that the car needs work, which raises some red flags. Without more details about what kind of work is needed, it's difficult to determine the extent of the issues and how much it might cost to get this Firebird back on the road. The seller notes that the car has had 2 owners, which could be a good sign if it's been well maintained throughout its life. However, without more information about the car's history and any previous repairs or modifications, it's hard to say for sure. Now, here's where things get a bit concerning. The seller's description is very brief and doesn't provide a lot of details about the car's condition or the work that it needs. This lack of information makes it difficult for potential buyers to make an informed decision. It's possible that the seller is hoping to find a buyer who's willing to take on a project car, but it's also possible that the issues with this Firebird are more extensive than the seller is letting on. In any case, it's crucial to reach out to the seller and ask for more details before considering a purchase. If the seller is able to provide more information and the car turns out to be a good candidate for restoration, then this 1970 Pontiac Firebird could be a great project for the right buyer. These classic muscle cars are known for their powerful engines, sleek designs, and collectability. However, if the seller is unable or unwilling to provide more details, it might be best to proceed with caution or look for another option. As with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to arrange for an in-person inspection and test drive before making a decision. If possible, bring along a mechanic or someone knowledgeable about classic cars to help assess the Firebird's condition and identify any potential issues. 9. We're taking a closer look at a 1973 Dodge Dart that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has this classic compact car listed at $4,800 or best offer, which could be a good deal for someone looking for a project car or a piece of Mopar history. First off, let's talk about the exterior. This Dart is finished in a classic white color, which gives it a clean and simple look. The seller doesn't mention anything about the condition of the paint or body, so it's hard to say whether there are any dents, dings, or other cosmetic issues. It would be a good idea to ask the seller for more photos and details to get a better sense of the car's overall exterior condition. Moving on to the interior, the seller mentions that it's finished in a brown color. Again, there are no details provided about the condition of the seats, dashboard, or other interior components. It's important to ask the seller for more information and photos to assess whether the interior needs any repairs or restoration work. Under the hood, you'll find a slant 6 engine paired with a 904 automatic transmission. The seller notes that the car runs well, which is a good sign. However, it's always a good idea to have a mechanic inspect the engine and transmission before making a purchase to ensure that there are no hidden issues. The seller also mentions that the car has an A-body 834 rear end, which is a desirable feature for Mopar enthusiasts. This rear end is known for its strength and durability, making it a popular choice for those looking to upgrade their Dart's performance. Now, let's talk about the condition of this Dart. The seller mentions that there is some rust on the floors, which is a common issue with older cars. However, they also note that the trunk, rockers, roof, and frame are all very solid. This suggests that the rust issues may be relatively minor and localized to the floor pans. It's important to keep in mind that rust can be a serious problem with older cars, and it's always a good idea to have a thorough inspection done before making a purchase. If the rust is extensive or if it has spread to other areas of the car, it could be a costly and time-consuming repair. The seller notes that the car has a clean title and comes with a fender tag, which is a good sign. The fender tag is a valuable piece of documentation that can provide important information about the car's original specifications and options. Overall, this 1973 Dodge Dart seems like it could be a good project car for someone with the time and skills to address the rust issues and any other repairs that may be needed. The asking price of $4,800 or best offer seems reasonable for a car of this age and condition, especially considering the desirable slant 6 engine and A-body rear end. 10. We're taking a look at a 1985 Ford Mustang SVO that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has this rare Fox body listed at $8,500, which could be a great deal for Mustang enthusiasts and collectors. First off, let's talk about what makes this Mustang special. The SVO, Special Vehicle Operations model, was only produced for 2 years, 1984 and 1985, making it a rare and sought-after version of the Fox body Mustang. It featured a turbocharged 2.3-liter 4-cylinder engine, which was a departure from the traditional V8 engines found in most Mustangs of the era. Now let's dive into the details of this particular 1985 Mustang SVO. The seller mentions that it has 88,246 original miles, which is relatively low for a car that's over 35 years old. This suggests that the car has been well maintained throughout its life. The exterior of this Mustang is finished in a classic red color, which looks great on the Fox body style. The seller doesn't mention anything about the condition of the paint or body, so it would be a good idea to ask for more photos and details to get a better sense of the car's overall exterior appearance. Moving on to the interior, the seller notes that it's finished in a gray color. Again, there are no details provided about the condition of the seats, dashboard, or other interior components. It's important to ask the seller for more information and photos to assess whether the interior needs any repairs or restoration work. Under the hood, you'll find the original turbocharged 2.3-liter four-cylinder engine. The seller mentions that the car runs and drives as it should, which is a good sign. However, it's always a good idea to have a mechanic inspect the engine and other mechanical components before making a purchase to ensure that there are no hidden issues. The seller also notes that this Mustang SVO has some upgrades, although they don't specify what those upgrades are. It would be interesting to find out more about any modifications or improvements that have been made to the car. One thing to keep in mind is that this Mustang has had 3 or more owners over the years. While this isn't necessarily a bad thing, it does mean that the car has changed hands several times, and it may be more difficult to track down its full history and maintenance records. Overall, this 1985 Ford Mustang SVO seems like it could be a great find for the right buyer. The low mileage, rare SVO model, and upgrades make it an attractive option for Mustang collectors and enthusiasts. The asking price of $8,500 seems reasonable for a car of this caliber, especially considering its rarity and potential value. 11. We're checking out a 1984 Pontiac Fiero that's up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has this classic mid-engine sports car listed at $7,500, which could be a great deal for the right buyer. First off, let's talk about the exterior. This Fiero is rocking a vibrant red paint job that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. The seller mentions that the car is in excellent condition and has been garage kept, which is a great sign. It suggests that the car has been well maintained and protected from the elements over the years. Moving on to the interior, you'll find a brown color scheme that complements the exterior nicely. The seller doesn't provide any specific details about the condition of the seats, dashboard, or other interior components. But given the car's overall excellent condition, it's likely that the interior is in good shape as well. Now, let's talk about the mileage. This Fiero has only been driven 11,200 miles, which is incredibly low for a car that's nearly 40 years old. This low mileage is a testament to how well the car has been cared for and preserved over the years. It's rare to find a classic car with such low mileage, and it definitely adds to the Fiero's value and desirability. Under the hood, or rather behind the seats, you'll find the Fiero's mid-mounted engine. The seller mentions that the car runs perfectly, which is exactly what you want to hear when considering a classic car purchase. The automatic transmission should make this Fiero easy and enjoyable to drive. The seller also notes that the car has had only 2 owners, which is another good sign. Fewer owners often means a more consistent maintenance history and less wear and tear on the vehicle. Additionally, the seller states that the car has a clean title and no significant damage or problems. This is great news for potential buyers, as it suggests that the Fiero has been well maintained and hasn't been involved in any major accidents or issues. Overall, this 1984 Pontiac Fiero seems like a fantastic find for anyone in the market for a classic mid-engine sports car. The excellent condition, low mileage, and clean title make it a very attractive option. The asking price of $7,500 seems more than fair for a car of this caliber, especially considering its rarity and potential collectability. As with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to request additional photos and information from the seller. If possible, try to arrange for an in-person inspection and test drive to get a better sense of the car's overall condition. 12. We're taking a look at a 1980 Chevrolet Monte Carlo that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has this classic muscle car listed at $13,000, which might be a bit on the high side, but let's dive in and see what this Monte Carlo has to offer. First off, let's talk about the exterior. This Monte Carlo is finished in a sleek black color, which gives it a classic and intimidating look. The seller doesn't mention anything about the condition of the paint or body, so it would be a good idea to ask for more photos and details to get a better sense of the car's overall exterior appearance. Moving on to the interior, the seller notes that it's finished in a burgundy color. While the seller mentions that the car needs a little TLC on the interior, they don't provide any specific details about what kind of work is needed. It's important to ask the seller for more information and photos to assess the extent of the interior wear and tear. Under the hood, you'll find a built 350 engine, which suggests that this Monte Carlo has been modified for improved performance. The seller also mentions a built 350 transmission and a Halsey rear end with 410 gears, which are all desirable upgrades for muscle car enthusiasts. These modifications indicate that this Monte Carlo is likely to be a strong performer on the road. The seller notes that the car runs and drives awesome, which is a good sign. However, it's always a good idea to have a mechanic inspect the engine and other mechanical components before making a purchase to ensure that there are no hidden issues. One thing to keep in mind is that this Monte Carlo has been driven 100,000 miles. While this mileage is not necessarily high for a car that's over 40 years old, it's still something to consider when evaluating the car's overall condition and value. On the plus side, the seller states that the car has a clean title and no significant damage or problems. This is great news for potential buyers, as it suggests that the Monte Carlo has been well maintained and hasn't been involved in any major accidents or issues. Now, let's talk about the price. The seller is asking $13,000 for this 1980 Chevrolet Monte Carlo, which might be a bit high considering the car's age, mileage, and the fact that it needs some interior work. It's always a good idea to research comparable sales and to negotiate with the seller to try to get the best possible price. The seller does mention that they are open to trades, so if you have a vehicle that you're looking to trade in, this could be an option to consider. 13. We're taking a closer look at a rare find on Facebook Marketplace, a 1977 Lincoln Town Car Coupe. The seller has this classic luxury car listed at $7,000 or best offer, which could be a great deal for the right buyer. First off, let's talk about what makes this town car special. The seller mentions that it's a very rare coupe model, which is definitely an interesting and unique feature. The car also has a working moonroof, which is a nice touch and adds to its overall appeal. Now, let's dive into the details of this particular 1977 Lincoln Town Car. The seller notes that it has been driven 104,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car that's over 40 years old. This suggests that the car has been well maintained throughout its life. The exterior of this town car is finished in a gray color, which gives it a classic and sophisticated look. The seller mentions that the car could use a paint job if desired, as there are some small areas of surface rust. However, they also note that the exterior is in good condition overall. Moving on to the interior, the seller states that it's also finished in a gray color. They mention that the interior has been dyed and looks good, which suggests that it has been well cared for over the years. The seller also notes that everything works as it should, except for the passenger window. Under the hood, the seller mentions that the car has updated mechanics and runs great. They state that it starts right up and runs like a charm, which is exactly what you want to hear when considering a classic car purchase. The car also has newer tires, which is a plus. One of the standout features of this town car is the on-dash GPS system. While this is likely an older, more primitive navigation system, it's still a cool and unique feature to have in a car from the 1970s. The seller also mentions that the car has a brand new cabaret roof, which is a nice addition. They describe the car as a fun and smooth drive, and note that it's quite a looker on the road. In terms of the car's overall condition, the seller states that it's in good shape. They mention that the AC blows cold and the heat works well, which is important for comfort and drivability. The seller is upfront about the reason for selling the car. They recently purchased another antique vehicle and don't have room for the town car. This suggests that the car has been well loved and cared for by its current owner. Overall, this 1977 Lincoln Town Car Coupe seems like a great find for anyone in the market for a classic luxury car with some unique features. The relatively low mileage, updated mechanics, and overall good condition make it an attractive option. The asking price of $7,000 or best offer seems reasonable for a car of this caliber, especially considering its rarity. 14. We're taking a look at a 1984 Chevrolet Corvette that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has this classic sports car listed at $9,000, which seems like a fair price considering the car's condition and history. First off, let's talk about the mileage. This Corvette has only been driven 43,000 miles, which is incredibly low for a car that's almost 40 years old. This low mileage suggests that the car has been well cared for and hasn't seen a lot of use over the years. The exterior of this Corvette is finished in a classic red color, which looks great on the C4 body style. The seller doesn't mention anything about the condition of the paint or body, but given the car's overall well-maintained history, it's likely that the exterior is in good shape. Moving on to the interior, the seller notes that it's finished in a black color. Again, there are no specific details provided about the condition of the seats, dashboard, or other interior components. But considering the car's low mileage and documented history, it's reasonable to assume that the interior is in good condition as well. One of the standout features of this Corvette is its fully documented history. The seller mentions that the car comes with records going back to the original owner, including the original sales materials. This level of documentation is rare and highly desirable for classic car collectors, as it helps to verify the car's authenticity and history. The seller also notes that the car has received lots of work within the last year or so. This includes a fully rebuilt digital dash, which is a common issue with C4 Corvettes. The car also has a period-correct vintage Alpine head unit with new speakers, which is a nice touch for those who appreciate classic car audio systems. Under the hood, the seller mentions that the car has received new plugs, wires, and a cap, as well as a new fuel pump and battery. These are all important maintenance items that help to ensure the car runs smoothly and reliably. The seller also notes that the car has new weather stripping and radiator hoses, which are important for keeping the car sealed and cool during operation. Another great feature of this Corvette is that it comes with both solid and glass Targa tops. This gives the buyer the option to choose between a more classic look with the solid top or a more modern and open-air feel with the glass top. Overall, this 1984 Chevrolet Corvette seems like a fantastic find for anyone in the market for a well-maintained and documented classic sports car. The low mileage, recent maintenance and upgrades, and included documentation make it a very attractive option. The asking price of $9,000 seems more than fair for a car of this caliber, especially considering its history and condition. 15. We're taking a closer look at a 1965 Ford Mustang Coupe that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has this classic pony car listed at $10,000, which could be a good deal for someone looking for a winter project. First off, let's talk about the exterior. This Mustang has recently undergone a home restoration, which included a new paint job and fenders. The seller mentions that the floors are solid and were patched, which is a good sign. The white exterior color looks clean and classic, and the vinyl top is said to be in great shape. Moving on to the interior, the seller notes that the Mustang has a pony interior that presents very well. This is a desirable option for Mustang enthusiasts, and it's great to hear that it's in good condition. The seller also mentions that the dash was replaced with a used one, which is a common repair for classic cars. Under the hood, this Mustang has had some modifications. The original 289 engine has been replaced with a 302, which the seller says is strong and sounds great. The car has also received some new parts, including shocks, a battery, carburetor, filters, and an electric fuel pump. The seller also notes that the fuel tank is new, which is an important update for any classic car. The seller mentions that the exterior lights work with no issues and that there are no rot issues, which is always a good sign for a car of this age. Now here's where things get a bit concerning. The seller mentions that they recently had the Mustang running in the driveway and it overheated. They believe that the head gasket has let go, which is a serious issue that will need to be addressed. The seller is upfront about this and is selling the car as is, with the understanding that it will need a head gasket replacement. While this is definitely a setback, the seller presents it as an opportunity for a winter project. They mention that the car starts up with no problem and that it won't take long to get it back on the road for the spring. This could be a good option for someone who has the skills and resources to tackle the head gasket repair. The seller also notes that the rims and tires are in good condition, which is a plus. In terms of the car's history, the seller mentions that it has been driven 170,000 miles. While this mileage is relatively high for a classic car, it's not necessarily a deal breaker if the car has been well maintained over the years. The seller states that the car has a clean title, which is important for any used car purchase. Overall, this 1965 Ford Mustang Coupe seems like it could be a good project car for the right buyer. The recent restoration work, strong 302 engine, and desirable pony interior are all attractive features. However, the head gasket issue is a significant concern that will need to be addressed before the car can be driven regularly. 16. We're taking a look at a 1972 Chevrolet Impala SS that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller is asking $9,000 for this classic ride. Now let's dive into the details. The ad mentions that this Impala SS has 110,000 miles on the odometer and comes with an automatic transmission. The exterior is an eye-catching green color, while the interior color is not specified. Moving on to the seller's description, it's pretty brief but straightforward. They state that the car is clean of runs, strong drives like a boat. While the seller seems enthusiastic about the car's condition, it's important to note that drives like a boat could be interpreted in different ways. Some might see it as a reference to the smooth, comfortable ride often associated with classic American cars, while others might take it as a hint that the handling might not be as responsive as more modern vehicles. It's crucial to keep in mind that the seller's description doesn't provide a lot of details about the car's overall condition, history, or any potential issues. As with any used car purchase, especially a classic one, it's always a good idea to ask for more information, additional photos, and even consider having a professional inspection done before making a decision. While the 1972 Chevrolet Impala SS is undoubtedly a cool and desirable classic, the limited information in the ad makes it difficult to assess whether the $9,000 asking price is fair. Factors like the car's overall condition, originality, and any modifications or repairs needed can greatly impact its value. In conclusion, if you're interested in this 1972 Chevrolet Impala SS, I recommend reaching out to the seller for more details and possibly arranging a visit to see the car in person. Be prepared to ask questions and thoroughly inspect the vehicle to ensure it meets your expectations and is worth the investment. And as always, don't hesitate to negotiate the price based on your findings and market research. 17. We're checking out a 1984 Buick Regal that's up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has listed this classic beauty for $550. Let's take a closer look at what we know about this Regal. According to the ad, it has just 56,185 miles on the clock, which is quite low for a car of this age. It's equipped with an automatic transmission, making it a breeze to drive. The exterior is a striking gold color, while the interior is a complementary brown. The car runs on gasoline, as you'd expect from a vehicle of this era. Now let's see what the seller has to say about this 1984 Buick Regal. The description is short and sweet, stating, 1984 Buick Regal, low miles, clean title, $58.50. While the low mileage and clean title are definitely positives, the brief description doesn't give us a lot of insight into the car's overall condition or history. It's important to keep in mind that a 1984 model is now 39 years old, and even with low mileage, it may have some wear and tear, or require maintenance due to its age. The seller doesn't mention anything about the car's mechanical condition, any recent repairs or upgrades, or the state of the interior and exterior. To get a better understanding of this Regal's true condition, it would be wise to reach out to the seller and ask for more details and additional photos. Inquire about the car's maintenance records, any known issues, and whether it has undergone any modifications or restorations. If possible, arrange to see the car in person and even consider bringing along a mechanic to inspect it thoroughly. As for the asking price of $5,150, it seems reasonable for a low-mileage 1984 Buick Regal with a clean title, assuming the car is in good overall condition. However, the value can vary depending on factors like the car's specific trim level, options, and market demand in your area. In summary, this 1984 Buick Regal with its low mileage and clean title could be an exciting opportunity for classic car enthusiasts. However, due to the limited information provided in the ad, it's crucial to gather more details and inspect the car thoroughly before making a decision. Don't hesitate to negotiate the price based on your findings and market research. 18. We're taking a closer look at a 1966 Ford Mustang that's currently listed on Facebook Marketplace. The seller is asking $10,000 for this classic pony car. From the information provided in the ad, we can see that this 66 Mustang is a coupe model equipped with an automatic transmission. The exterior and interior both sport a blue color scheme, giving it a cool, monochromatic look. As expected from a car of this era, it runs on gasoline. Now, let's dive into the seller's description to get a better understanding of this Mustang's condition and recent upgrades. The seller mentions that the car has received several new components, including tires, a gas tank, and a carburetor. These replacements suggest that the seller has invested some time and money into maintaining and improving the vehicle. The ad also notes that a new retro sound stereo has been installed, which offers modern features like aux and USB inputs, while maintaining the classic look of the original radio. This is a nice touch for those who want to enjoy their music while cruising in this vintage ride. Interestingly, the seller mentions having an AC kit available for installation if the buyer desires. This could be a valuable addition, especially for those living in hotter climates. As for the interior, the seller states that it's in good condition, apart from a small rip that's visible in the provided picture. It's important to assess the extent of this damage and consider whether it's something you're willing to live with or repair. One promising aspect of this listing is that the seller claims the car is in driving condition, stating, "You can drive it home." However, it's always a good idea to verify this claim by thoroughly inspecting the vehicle and taking it for a test drive before making a purchase. While the seller provides a decent amount of information about this 1966 Ford Mustang, there are still some questions that potential buyers might want to ask. For example, inquiring about the car's mileage, maintenance history, and any known issues can help paint a clearer picture of its overall condition. Regarding the $10,000 asking price, it seems to be within the reasonable range for a drivable 1966 Mustang coupe. However, the final value will depend on factors like the car's specific options, overall condition, and market demand in your area. In conclusion, this 1966 Ford Mustang coupe with its recent upgrades and seemingly good condition could be an exciting opportunity for classic car enthusiasts. As always, be sure to gather more information, inspect the car thoroughly, and consider negotiating the price based on your findings and market research. 19. We're checking out a 1979 Chevrolet Camaro that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has listed this classic muscle car for $10,000. According to the ad, this Camaro has clocked 96,000 miles and comes equipped with an automatic transmission. The exterior is finished in a clean white color, while the interior sports a sleek black look. As you'd expect from a car of this era, it runs on gasoline. The seller mentions that the vehicle is paid off and comes with a clean title, which is always a good sign. They also state that the car has no significant damage or problems, suggesting that it's in decent overall condition. Now, let's dive into the seller's detailed description to get a better understanding of the modifications and work done on this Camaro. The most notable upgrade is the LS swap, which includes an LM7 5.3-liter engine that has been rebuilt with new bearings, rings, and gaskets. The engine also features performance enhancements like a Stage 3 BTR truck cam, LS7 lifters, high-lift valve springs, and hardened push rods. These modifications suggest that the car likely has a significant power increase over the original engine. The transmission has been upgraded to a 4L8AOE unit with a high stall converter, and the car now has a G-force transmission crossmember for improved stability. The exhaust system has been updated with Headman mid-length headers and a true dual setup with FlowFX mufflers, which should give this Camaro an aggressive and throaty sound. Fuel system improvements include a tank's EFI conversion fuel tank with an in-tank fuel pump, ensuring reliable fuel delivery to the new engine. The seller mentions that the rear end is a stock 10-bolt with highway gears and an open differential, which may be something to consider upgrading if you plan on regularly putting the car's increased power to the test. The seller has also addressed some of the common rust issues found on these classic Camaros by replacing the radiator core support, front right fender, both doors, and the trunk lid with OEM parts. The front left fender is a new replacement, and the car now features Z28-style front fenders with vents for a more aggressive look. Floor pans have also been replaced, showing that the seller has put effort into restoring and maintaining the car's body. Overall, this 1979 Chevrolet Camaro with its LS swap and various performance upgrades seems to be a compelling choice for enthusiasts looking for a classic muscle car with modern power. The seller appears to have been transparent about the car's condition and the work that has been done, which is a good sign. 20. We're taking a closer look at a classic beauty, a 1978 Lincoln Continental Mark V that's up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace. With its iconic style and luxurious features, this car is sure to turn heads wherever it goes. Now let's talk about the nitty-gritty. The seller is asking $6,000 for this vintage ride, which has clocked in at 138,657 miles. It's got an automatic transmission, a brown exterior, and a tan interior that's just begging for you to sink into it. And of course, it runs on good old gasoline. The seller has been pretty upfront about the work that's gone into this car. They've replaced the water pump, thermostat, belts, and most of the hoses. The master cylinder and brake lines are new, and the fuel filter and intake filter have been replaced too. They've even gone as far as replacing the vacuum lines and repairing or replacing the battery, starter relay, and several wires. It's clear that a lot of love and care has gone into keeping this car running smoothly. But as with any classic car, there are a few things to keep in mind. The seller mentions a slight power steering leak and some worn-out window motor gears. The steering linkage is also a bit worn, but the seller has the replacement part ready to go. Despite these minor issues, the seller assures us that this Lincoln Continental is a comfortable daily driver that's ready for its next adventure. And let's be real, who wouldn't want to cruise around town in this eye-catching classic? So, if you're in the market for a vintage ride with plenty of character and style, this 1978 Lincoln Continental Mark V might just be the one for you. Don't hesitate to reach out to the seller with any questions you might have.